We've had a very quiet weekend. Bitcoin is still below $69,000, while gold is already heading back towards $5,000. And today is also a holiday in the US, so we might be in for a very, very quiet day, but especially as we head towards Friday, we'll have a bit more news again. And with that, welcome to a new crypto update video. Yes, Bitcoin is at $68,200. The weekend was really, really quiet. So in terms of news, there really wasn't much. And in terms of price action, it was relatively little. That makes it all the more interesting to see how we start today and, of course, how we end it. We'll take a look at everything now, calmly, including crypto stocks and everything else, so that you're well prepared for this new trading week. But before we get started, as always, feel free to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, let's join the free Telegram talk and signal group. If you're interested in updates, news, and signals, feel free to join. You'll find the link for it for free down in the video description. And if you don't have an exchange yet where you can trade everything, whether it's stocks, crypto, or Forex, you can do all of that on my partner exchange, WEEX. Currently, you can get up to 11,500 USDT in bonuses. And for everyone who signs up using my link, you can also participate in the live streams, etc. and so on. You can also win trial funds. So feel free to sign up, even if you just want to have the advantages over, let's say, other platforms. All right, then I'd say let's get started. So Bitcoin is at $68,234. Yeah, compared to yesterday, so compared to the live stream, hardly anything has happened. As you can see, I still have the indicator on. Just to remind you again here, we talked about this in detail during yesterday's live stream, that especially this area around 67,200 US dollars is, for me, the decisive area for now. The Asia range is very, very small. We can go ahead and draw it in now. It's from 69,000 US dollars down to 68,100 US dollars. That is, as things stand, the Asia range. It's not really big, but that's always a point we should definitely keep in mind for the trading week, because if we close above it and then confirm support again, it's likely that the rest of the week will continue to move up. If we close below it and then encounter resistance here, then it's probably more likely to go further down. And that's exactly what basically reflects my trade setup for the next few hours. Because this green vector candle that we have down here at 67,100 US dollars is, for me, the most important point. If we hold that support, we can easily move towards 76,000 US dollars for the week. Because it's Monday, so starting today, it's a holiday, of course, in the US, and then until Friday. First, there are no news, no significant news, but on Friday, there will be all the more. Because the Supreme Court is supposed to allegedly decide whether the tariffs are legal or illegal, plus the PCI data and the gross domestic product, which is expected to collapse significantly. So it is still expected to rise, but there will be a significant setback compared to the last GDP. That means we really have a chance now to go up a bit over the next few days if this support holds. But the topic at the moment is a bit different, and we can already see that in the headlines. On the one hand, bond rise on rate cut bets, gold is below $5,000. That doesn't really say much, except that we're once again facing the problem that bonds, or rather, the bond markets have also risen again. But this topic will keep us a bit more occupied this week. A stock market doom loop is hitting everything it touches. AI. The stock market turmoil unleashed by the AI industry reflects two fears that are increasingly at odds with each other. One is that AI is set to disrupt entire segments of the economy so dramatically that investors are dumping the stocks of any company seen as even slightly at risk of being displaced by the technology. The other is a deep skepticism, my English is crap, that the hundreds of billions of dollars that tech giants like Amazon, Meta, blah, 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 are pouring into AI every year will deliver big payoffs anytime soon. And that's what I've been saying over and over again for weeks. The big uncertainty with AI is, on the one hand, of course, the problem is that investors aren't seeing any revenue yet. There's investment after investment after investment, and people are hoping, or rather, the investors are hoping for a huge profit as a result. But no one knows if that profit will actually come, and that's the second concern, that as soon as you start hearing some rumors like, damn, things aren't really going that well, the whole structure could end up collapsing in on itself. And then only a few companies, not all of them, would keep investing in this AI stuff. Well, it's not really shit, but that at some point the bubble could just burst. Those are currently the major risks, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. In every headline, even Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos mentioned it again in this article, that especially the prices for chips, etc., and so on, are getting more and more expensive. And as a result, of course, so are devices, phones, laptops, etc., and so on. So you see, everything revolves around AI. And for this morning, there's not much happening on the chart. Bitcoin, as I said, at 68,200. The volume is dead, really. The volume has been dead all weekend. To me, this currently looks like a sustainable breakout. Let's take a look at the heat map at around 71,400, 500. Roughly, we currently have a large cluster. Below that, it's at 62. And then there's another big fat order at 55,000 US dollars. And these are exactly the scenarios I currently have in mind. If this support holds, we will most likely see a pump to the upside. Whether we reach 74 to 76 remains to be seen. Basically, according to this little count, it would fit with Elliott waves. If we lose the support, the next support would be down here in this low area because we also still have the vector down here. And if this zone here, this order block is also lost at 62K, yes, then we definitely have to expect a lower low. Those are the three, or rather two alternatives in quotation marks. I'm continuing both short and long. The long is still running. But for a small scalp long or a short-term long, this area here would definitely be suitable again. Otherwise, last but not least, let's take a quick look at the funding rates. Unfortunately, they've gone up again. That's also not exactly what we want to see. And the spot order book doesn't really tell us much at the moment either, except that liquidity is very, very thin. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now in the Asia range here. It's just dead. The market is dead right now. There's just way too little happening. Let's move over to Ethereum. Ethereum is dead. I have no idea what to tell you about it, but again, just look at the volume. The volume really says it all in the end. There's nothing going on at all. Really zero, nada, nothing. Best case for us, we pick it up down here. This wick, we then have a nice double bottom and could start a relief rally. The question is, and someone actually asked this in the stream yesterday, what is even supposed to push us up? Yeah, that's the big question. The only option I see this week, there won't be any news until Friday, and until then, we go up. And then we drop like a stone again because something happens again. Geopolitical and monetary policy uncertainties, they just haven't gone away. And that's the big problem. We see it with Bitcoin, we see it with Ethereum, we see it with Solana, we see it everywhere. Liquidity is just too thin. Then we've left massive wicks everywhere again. You know the story, wicks always get filled. Just look at October 10th. Wicks, almost all of them have been filled, at least among the top 50 coins. And that's the big problem. And if we then look at the bond markets, which also short-term ones are at least dropping for now, at least in the short term. Lol. But Japan is already rising again. That's also not exactly what we want to see. So right now, nothing is really lining up in a way that could push us higher. Or should. Let's move on to the traditional markets. Or rather, Forex. USD and JPY are still barely moving, still stable. So no movement there either. Euro against the US dollar, no movement, and the US dollar itself isn't moving either. The market is kind of dead at the moment. No idea, the liquidity is missing. Who's surprised? Yesterday was Carnival. Nah, just kidding, but the liquidity is simply missing. Overall, gold is still moving more or less sideways. Silver is moving sideways. Bison hasn't been hit yet. So as you can see, the markets are trying to pick a direction right now, but somehow nothing is really happening. It's tough. Let's move on to the traditional markets. So that means stocks, DAX, stable. Dow Jones and the like, as I said, are closed today, or rather the US markets are closed. Not much is happening, NASDAQ. Yeah, I'm still waiting for the big jump. And when you read headlines like that everywhere, all about AI and the bond market, etc., then I think we'll only get a bigger story tomorrow when the markets are open again. And today everything is relatively, well, at least I hope so, relatively calm. The volatility index is still pretty high, but there hasn't been a real breakout yet. You have to say that here as well. We haven't seen those big spikes yet. If we look at the whole thing on a daily time frame, in the past, we've always had these bigger outliers, just short-term moves upward. Where we are now, in the end, not much has really happened yet, except that we keep forming higher lows, which is, of course, a good sign to push things a bit further upward, and then maybe have that final shakeout, possibly also in tech stocks, etc., and so on to happen. But we can already see it everywhere. We see the same picture. Volume is down. We see this with individual stocks like Nvidia and others. The volume is down. Tech stocks are stable. So there's just way too little happening. Our short on the S&P 500 is running. Our DAX short is still ongoing, and not much has changed. Let's wait and see. Next week, Nvidia will finally report. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. But for me, Nvidia and also Google with Alphabet are currently the only stocks that Somehow, at the moment, I can make sure that the stock market just stays up there. Otherwise, I see everything else as rather bearish. Still, nothing has changed. All right, then I would say that's definitely it from my side. Thank you for watching. Thank you very, very much. And then I would say we'll hear from each other again at the latest tomorrow morning with a new update video. There will also be a live stream again tomorrow. If you're interested, join in. If not, you can still watch yesterday's stream. Or rather, I say yesterday's, but it's still pretty recent. And otherwise, that's it from me. Thank you for watching, and I wish you a great start to the new trading week. Take care of yourselves. See you then. Ciao, ciao, and as always, stay quick.